Hey everybody, one quick thing here. So I want to there we go. Okay, now we're good to go. Want to welcome everybody to the show. Thank you all so much for being here. Hang on a second. There we go. Technical issues. Thanks everybody for being here. So for today's show, I got a couple of guests here. I've got Mike and I've got Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. And the theme of today's show is we're going to talk about our top 10 Kiss picks. We're going to get into the nitty gritty on the records. We're going to talk about why we picked those top 10 picks. My buddy Mike is a massive Kiss fan. I had him on a couple of weeks ago, and we did an entire show about Kiss. So he's like right into Kiss, knows his Kiss. And Pete Pardo, as you all know, he's got that channel Sea of Tranquility, and he does a lot of these lists. And he's also very very knowledgeable about the Kiss world. So let me, without further ado, let me bring those folks in. There's my buddy Mike.
Hey.
And there's Pete. How are you guys?
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Well, we got 71 people in here already watching. This is amazing.
I got to tell you that picture of you on the guitar there at the beginning of the show is a fantastic photo.
Yeah, some guy named Mike took that photo. Yeah, I remember that. That was a long. That was like 3. I still had long hair. That was like 3 years. Yeah. All right. Let me quickly say hello to some of the folks in the chat, and then we'll get going here. Sandra's with us. Welcome, Sandra. Waleed, Bent, Tom. Just going down here real quick. There's my buddy Bruce. Nice to see you. Trucker Kev, the paid tourist. Welcome.
What's up, Kev?
RC Billionaire is here. Hank Hill, Fruitcake Tony. Chris K, Bobby Lopes, Stephen Chamberlain. Welcome, everybody. Half Ace is with us. Jimmy Biter, Captain Beyond. Pete Brown, Thrash is with us. Quentin is here. Robson Schneider, welcome. Thunder Falcon, Dwight Bailey, Jim's Guitars, Hugh Caldwell, Kyle, AZDH, welcome. Wow, we got a lot of folks in here. So, folks, as we go along here, please tag us in the chat if you've got any questions. So we were just talking a little bit off air about putting the list together. I know Mike and I had a hell of a time, and Pete's like, yeah, no problem. Easy peasy. So, well, before we get going into the list, so I'm just going to go around. So what was some of your criteria when you were trying to narrow it down? What were some of the key things you were looking at, Mike? We'll start with you.
Well, I think, like I said before, each Kiss album for me is kind of like a timestamp.
Yeah.
So it has a lot to do with like where I was in my life at that time, or what it did for me, or memories. I mean, it's then there's the songs that were on the album. The artwork, which chapter of Kiss it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was hard to do.
Yeah. It took me honestly, it took me a couple hours and a lot of listening, going back and listening, picking this one over that one, and I'm like, man.
And then putting them in order was hard. Like picking the first 10 wasn't too bad, but then it's like putting them in order, and then I don't know. I got to sacrifice one for another, and then
a lot of sacrificing went on. Yeah, well,
there was a lot of rage while I was doing it. I'm like, no, I can't have that one. I can't. No, but it was all good. It was a good exercise.
One thing that was cool about it was I went back and listened to stuff that I hadn't heard in years, and was again reminded of how cool it was. That was kind of cool. What about you, Pete? What's some of your criteria in putting this together?
I mean, I'll echo some of what Mike said. A lot of it has to do with what kind of hit home with you back in the day.
Right.
And I mean, we're probably all about the same age. I might be a little older than you guys, but
you're 22.
Hey, I like that.
Just kidding.
A lot of times when I do these kind of lists is I have to kind of almost look at it from two ways. It's like, all right, well, how would I have ranked these back in 1985? All right, when I was, 20 something years old, and how would I rank them today? And then I look to see what the differences are. And the funny thing is, it's like, and I went through this very same exercise back a few months ago on my channel. I was actually surprised at some of the flip-flopping that went around, because again, I said, all right, so as a 20-year-old, or even as a 12-year-old, whatever, how would I have ranked these back then? And my list today is a little bit different than it was back then.
Oh, for sure.
So, and as we go through, I'll tell you guys about which are the ones that kind of made the most movements on this list. And then, a couple that maybe I didn't hold in as high regard back then, I actually like a little bit better now, because your taste change a little bit as you get older, maybe get a little more refined, right? But it all comes down to the songs, right? I mean, some of these albums just are so jam-packed with great songs, and great songs are great songs. So, and again, another thing that happens a lot with me when I do these is, like, there are sometimes you might have an album which top to bottom, start to finish, is very consistent, really strong. But yet another album that maybe isn't as consistent, but it has like maybe 3 or 4 songs that are so special to you that it might elevate that album above the other one that's more consistent, because you have 3, 4, or 5 songs which you absolutely love, even if the rest of the album with you is kind of hit or miss, but those songs are so damn good that it's going to elevate that album above another one, which actually you may really dig every single song on it, but just those couple of songs are going to make it a little higher.
It's funny you said, I would change my list from the 20-year-old me to the current me. I would change my list if I had to do this again tomorrow, because there was so many that were just like neck and neck, in terms of like what was in and what was out and the order. I mean, it was just neck and neck. Like I had to go back and re-listen to stuff and like, are you sure this one? Yeah, it was, I had a hard, I started off with, they've got 24 studio albums. My list started with 18. I started whittling it down. So it was tough. It was tough. All right. Well, let's start. Mike, we'll start with you. What was your number 10?
Okay, so number 10 for me, and you're gonna have to tell me if I'm showing this, or you can see it in the picture.
Hot in the Shade.
Hot in the Shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good album. That's it. No, I'm just kidding. No. Great tour. Actually, I always thought that if Kiss did the makeup in their prime with the Hot in the Shade stage show, it would have been probably like the perfect Kiss show.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I love this album. I love the songs on here. Surprisingly, and I think I said this on your show last time, the one song that I'm not crazy about was the first single that they released, which was Rise to It.
Yeah.
That's probably my least favorite song on the album. But everything else I think is great. I think there's other songs on there that they could have released as singles. You Love Me to Hate You is a great song. Betrayed is a great Gene song.
Yeah.
King of Hearts, Silver Spoon. And then, of course, you have Forever, which was a huge hit.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of songs on that record too, right?
What's that?
There's a lot of songs on that record.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you've got Eric's song on there, Little Caesar too.
Caesar.
So that was cool, And yeah, it was at the tail end of the 80s, came out in 89, but yeah, I really like this record. I still listen to it, and like I said, the tour was fantastic. And yeah, I was in high school. Reminds me of that too. So but yeah, love that album.
All right. Hot in the Shade. Pete, what's your number 10?
My number 10, let's go to 83. I'm going to go with Lick It Up for number 10. I don't have the CD to show. It's one of those ones I never replaced on CD, but I dig this album. It's I guess, first official album with Vinnie Vincent on guitar. I know, most people pretty much know that he played a lot of stuff on Creatures of the Night, but I think this is a really strong album. I remember when this album came out, how all of us Kiss fanatics were freaking out that the makeup was gone. Mm-hmm. And that was a big deal. But
big deal.
But this album is just as heavy or pretty close to it to Creatures of the Night. And I think for some of us at the time who were a little bit disappointed with The Elder and Unmasked, I think that this album just kind of solidified that Kiss is still alive and well and rocking really hard. I mean, I think, this album was talked about with a lot of the other heavy albums that were coming out at the time. I mean, Exciter is great. Not for the Innocent is great. The title track was all over the radio, all over MTV, All Hell's Breaking Loose, On the Eighth Day, so many great songs. And I think it's an album that still holds up really, really well. What's always interesting, though, is like you listen to this album, and Vinny, I think, plays pretty well on this album. And then, he leaves the band and he goes and forms Vinnie Vincent's Invasion. All of a sudden, you're listening to his guitar playing on that album, and you're like, wait a second, is this the same guy?
It's not.
Like, I mean, it's just like, it's like night and day. It's like, what is going on here? It's like, I think that's like always been the big mystery. It's like, well, what did they do in the studio to make his guitar playing sound so ferocious on that album? And it's like, because he really wasn't doing that kind of stuff on the Lick It Up album. But that's a story for another day. But I think Lick It Up is a fine album.
Yeah, they had some guest guys come in for Lick It Up, and also Paul and Gene were putting the reins on him, and I think that's
yeah.
And then when he had the reins off, then he just literally went nuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So cool. So my number 10, and I have the album right here. Animalize.
Good album.
Now,
agreed.
I wrote a couple of things here about Animalize. One, the whole attitude with this record, they sounded like they were pissed off. Like, you know what I mean? The album has a lot of aggression. I mean, Get All You Can Take, Into the Fire, I've Had Enough. I mean, right off the bat, like, it's just like, it's ferocious, right? This was the first record. Well, I mean, Paul already started it. I don't know if you noticed, there's a progression in his voice, right? You heard a little bit of it on Creatures, and then you heard more of it on Lick It Up. By the time he got to Animalize, he was trying to shatter glass with his voice. Like, he was really singing high. And, sometimes, I'll be honestly, like, sometimes it got a little bit irritating. It was like that, piercing, high singing. And it was a little bit over the top at times. But the songs on it, I thought, were really, really heavy. And the record's got a great attitude. And all right, now we can begin. I got my coffee. And so it's got one of my favorite Gene songs on it. I mean, it's the classic poetic "Burn, Bitch, Burn." The poet laureate Gene.
That was my wedding song. Sorry.
That's like, that song alone is worth the price of admission. It's funny as hell. It's got a real just the dumbest riff, but it's just, I love that song for whatever reason. I love that song. So yeah, that's why I dig the record. I think it's really heavy. It's powerful. It's got a lot of attitude, and yeah, and that's my number 10.
So I saw one of the only 2 shows that Mark St. John played at on that tour.
Oh, wow. You're lucky.
Cool.
Mid-Hudson Civic Center, Poughkeepsie, New York.
There's a bootleg of one of those 2 shows. Is that okay? There was one. Did he play the entire show? There was one where he only played like a set or 2 or something.
He played the whole show. The only thing he didn't do was he didn't come out and do an unaccompanied guitar solo, which he would have done.
Right.
Actually, they sent Paul out there on his own, and it was awful. So Paul was basically just doing hammer-ons for 15 minutes and like pointing to everybody in the crowd. It was terrible. We were like, what is going on? Because, this is like pre-internet, so nobody knows that Mark St. John is having issues. You just know that, half the tour, most of the tour, he just didn't appear. So, yeah, he was gone shortly thereafter, which was a real shame because I thought his guitar playing was terrific on that album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it was great.
So while we're talking about it, any you guys like the White Tiger album?
I do, yeah. Actually, it took me forever to find it on CD. I have it on vinyl, but yeah, I like it.
Never heard it. Never.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
No.
Okay, I'll have to change that. Next time we get together.
All right, let's go to number 9. Mike, what's your number 9 pick?
All right, so again, you're gonna have to tell me if it's in the frame or not.
Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights. This is like mixed. I know it's mixed reviews from a lot of different people, but for me, again, it was Paul's songwriting. And again, it's funny. The lead off song is a song I wasn't crazy about. Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
I loved My Way, Hell or High Water, Reason to Live. There's so many good songs on it. Turn on the Night. Yeah, I really like that album. It sounds, there's not a lot of bass on that album, and it's produced by Ron Nevison, who did Heart as well. And if you listen,
they waited like 2 years before he became available so they could do that record.
Yeah, and again, if you listen to a Heart album, it sounds very well. The ones that they recorded back then, the Heart, Bad Animals, I can't remember how many he did, but it was the same thing. I found like the bass was kind of non-existent, but songwriting wise, I thought Paul's songs were great. I don't know if you remember, but in the I think it was 88, 89, Gene and Paul were actually supposed to release solo albums that year, but they didn't. Do you remember that? Two of the songs that were on Paul's album are on the box set. So that was
I didn't know.
Time Machine. What was it called?
Sword and Stone.
Did he do Sword and Stone? I know Paul Dean did that.
No, Paul.
Time Traveler. That's the song that's on the box set. It's one of Paul's songs.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I thought that was a great tune. It would have been really good if Paul had come out with a solo album in '88, because I think it would have been a little bit more on line with the '78 solo album.
Yeah, which we're gonna get to.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Yeah. All right, P. What's your number 9? Ace.
Yeah. Gotta go with Ace. Yeah, originally I wasn't sure we were including these albums, but
they're
was like, throw them in.
They're official. Says Kiss on the corner, so they're fair game.
Yeah,
it does. So you got to have this one in here. I think by far this is my favorite of the solo albums, and I mean this is I think the first one I got out of the 4 of them.
Right.
And I was like so disappointed that the other 3 didn't quite live up. Although Paul's is very good too. I like Paul's a lot. Gene's is kind of hit or miss, and Peter's will just not even talk about that. But I mean, this is good. I mean, this is as good a solo album as it gets, and it's arguably the greatest solo album he ever did. Right? I mean, Rip It Out kicks ass. Speeding Back to My Baby, Snowblind, Ozone. I mean, if that isn't like 4 of the greatest openers on any solo record by any like hard rock guitar player, tell me. Wiped Out is killer. Fractured Mirror is a great instrumental. It's just got tasty guitars. The production's great. His vocals are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just an all around good, fun record. I was just listening to this last week and I was like, damn, that's as good as I remember, because I hadn't listened to it in quite a while. And, for all of you who go out and try to listen to his new solo album, the covers thing, listen to it once, toss it, and go back and listen to this, because that's really where you want to spend your time listening to Ace, in my opinion.
Yeah, Origins 2 is coming out the 18th. It's funny you mentioned his vocal. Like, that's the only record that I can actually, I'll say, enjoy his singing. Every record since then, it's the worst part about his records are his singing.
He's not a good singer. He's not.
No.
And I don't want to derail the conversation, but on the new covers album, the part 2, I mean, he's trying to sing like Robert Plant lines and all, and it's just, give it up, dude. We love you, but
yeah,
I mean, come on. Ace should not be trying to sing, stuff by. I mean, he has no range whatsoever.
No,
and it's like
vocalists in there and just play the guitar, man.
Yeah, it's like, it's like cringeworthy.
I don't know, but that, you know what? That's a testament to Eddie Kramer that he actually made him sound good.
Yeah.
Made him sound good on a record.
Having said that, I got to say though, I don't mind the next 2. Like I liked Fraley's Comet and Second Sighting. I thought his voice was okay on those too.
Yeah, those are good. Those are fun albums.
Yeah. And I love Todd Howdworth, but
Oh, Todd's great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. So for my number 9, and this is autographed from Bruce Kulick. Revenge. This is a great record, man. This is a great record. The production, they got back with Bob Ezrin for this one. And, the production is amazing. Bruce, total standout on this record. That's the best guitar he's played on any Kiss record as far as I'm concerned. It's fantastic. The songs are amazing. I mean, there's some really good deep cuts. Like I went back and I listened to this record again, and I'm like, oh my God, these songs are so good. There's a song on there. It's a Gene song called Spit.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I mean, Thou Shalt Not. I wrote a few of them here. Heart of Chrome, which there's a video that just came out a few weeks ago with it's that wrestler guy who sings. Anyways, Fozzy, the guy,
Chris Jericho,
and he did a thing, and Bruce played on it. It was like a YouTube collab thing that they did, which was very cool. Paul singing on it is great. So Paul, getting back to the Animalized thing here, Paul stopped trying to shatter glass, and he's just trying to sing. And his vocals on this record I thought were really, really good. Just a great record. I mean, top to bottom, it's just a really good record. And the songs are great. Are great.
I love that album.
The tour, unfortunately, didn't do so hot, but but it's a great record.
Speaking of Bruce, I just saw a comment in the chat. Yeah, Bruce has been in Grand Funk Railroad now for about a decade, maybe more.
Yeah,
does a fine job playing all those Mark Farner licks. I saw them live like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I've seen him with them, I think, once or twice. He's been with them longer than he was with Kiss. He was only with Kiss for like 12 years. I think he's well past that now.
It could be. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. No, Bruce is awesome. All right, we're down to number 8. Mike, what's your number 8?
So this one has been brought up already, but I'm going to bring it up again.
Lick It Up.
Yeah, I mean, I just have so many memories of when this album first came out. I think I said that the last time I was on your show. I bought it at Sam the Record Man. And I was just like staring at the album cover because, looking at them without makeup for the first time. And I love the record, too. A Million to One is probably one of my favorite songs off that album. To me, Paul's voice is just, especially one note that he holds in A Million to One. I just think it sounds amazing. And as it was brought up before, like Exciter, like I thought it was a really good follow-up to Creatures of the Night. It was heavy. It's got that 80s sound. I love it. I think it was a great album. The tour was, it was pretty much the same stage as Creatures, right? It was just the tank, but
that was maybe the Gardens. The Headpins open for that one.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. For Look It Up, it was Accept on the Look It Up tour
in Toronto.
Yeah, because I remember my mom. My mom was a real trooper. Came to the show with me, and she was like, "What's that Balls to the Wall song?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's Accept." She's like, "It's called Balls to the Wall." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It's about basketball." And
just don't show her the album cover, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I could have sworn the Headpins opened that. I gotta look.
I think Headpins was Creatures.
Okay. Maybe I got that. Okay, I could have.
Except opened up for him here in the States for a good chunk of that tour.
Okay, I probably got. I got confused. Yeah, Look It Up. Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, Pete.
All right, so I think back in the day, a lot of us kind of crapped on this album a bit, and and I could see why, but I think for me and a lot of people, because a lot of people talk pretty highly of it today, this album is held up quite well, even if you don't like the big single. That's Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some great songs on it. If you take I Was Made for Loving You off of this, the rest of it is really, really good. Dirty Livin', Magic Touch is a terrific Paul song. In fact, that could have slotted right into his solo album, I think.
Yeah.
Hard Times, great. X-Ray Eyes. I love Save Your Love. 2000 Man, cool cover of that old Stones classic. Sure Know Something. should have been a hit single from this.
Yeah.
Sure Knows Something has a terrific hook to it.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those albums. It's like, who actually played on it? Who knows, right? Studio cats coming in and out here and there, whatever. It's still a good album.
Yeah. Well, we know that the only drums on that record from Peter is Dirty Living.
Yeah. So, and then I heard Ace is kind of in and out throughout the whole studio sessions, and whatever. I still think it's a really good album. And I remember, like, when this came out, I was right at the tail end of my, really huge Kiss fandom period. And I asked, because I was only like 13 at the time. So I asked my father, I'm like, they were playing a gig at Madison Square Garden, right? And I was like, Dad, I gotta go see Kiss. And he's like, you know what? I'll take you. And he waited to go get tickets. And this was back in the Ticketron days here in the States. So, there was nothing online, obviously. So he actually went down. They had a Ticketron outlet across the street from where he worked in New York City. And by the time he actually went to go get tickets, they were sold out.
Wow.
So he came home. He's like, I'm sorry, there's no more tickets left. And I was like, I came this close to seeing him on this tour, but which would have been cool. But because then before you know it, you blinked and the makeup was gone. And the luster was kind of, because then when I finally got to see them, it was without the makeup, and it was really cool, but not quite the same. But I dig this album a lot, and I think it holds up really well for me.
Yeah, that was my first show, was that tour. And
me too. Yeah, I was 7 years old, Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
August 4th, 1979, Maple Leaf Gardens. All right, number 8. We got something else in common, Mike. My number 8 is also Lick It Up.
Nice.
Man, when this record came out, I called every freaking music store in the city. Nobody had it except for one store way across town. And I went way across town on the bus, and I get the record, and I walk in and I said, "Have you got to Look It Up?" And they're like, "We don't know." I said, "What do you mean you don't know? I just called here. Oh, the shipment just came in." The guy literally opened the box, and I got the first copy there.
He always drank.
So anyway, the cover I stared at for hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, holy shit, there they are without the make. I stared at that cover for hours. Anyways, as far as the songs on it, Lick It Up was a massive hit. At least here, it was huge. They finally were getting regular play on rock radio, which was a big deal. And the songs, what I found with this record, they were really starting to ride the times. I mean, around that time, that's when Judas Priest was hitting and everything else, and their songs got heavier, like stuff like "Gimme More," "Exciter," "Not for the Innocent." I mean, and "Young and Wasted," which is that's a phenomenal song.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were just starting to get really, really heavy. They were pushing the envelope compared to what they'd done previously. I mean, you could say "Creatures of the Night." Yeah, "Creatures of the Night," that song was heavy, but not everything was heavy. This I think overall was generally a heavier record. I thought the tunes were cool. Paul was just again starting to get into the high register. And I think probably of the non-makeup era, that record has got probably one of the better collections of songs for sure.
Have you ever heard the rumors about the album cover?
Oh, that's a mannequin, not Vinnie Vincent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah. That's a mannequin, and they put his head on the body.
No,
apparently his hair is not his hair either.
That's not his hair. No, that is a wig, but he was definitely there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Exciter, Not for the Innocent, Gimme More, and vocally they started getting a little nastier too. So
yeah,
that was Paul trying to be tough guy, and then Animalize, he went even further with that. So
yeah, well, it's funny because it was I think it was Creatures. The Creatures tour was the first time Paul swore on stage.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I remember his speech about, you meet all these guys out there and they say the Kiss sucks. What do you say to them? Something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that speech. All right, Mike, what's your number 7?
All right. We got Mr. Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
I love this record. I loved it back then. I love it today.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those albums that I think right through, it's just fantastic. I have multiple versions of this album too. I have it on 8-track. I have it on cassette, vinyl, CD. Yeah, I love it. I wish Paul's last solo album, well, Live to Win, I wish it was more along the lines of, like I said, more of either the 70s sound or the 80s sound.
Yeah, Live to Win was a disappointment, man.
It really was.
It was not a good record.
And I mean, even I listened to it not that long ago. I thought, well, maybe, you come back to a record that you haven't listened to in a long time, and then it either sounds better or worse. And I actually thought it sounded worse. So, but yeah, this album was great. I love it. So out of all the solo albums, that's my favorite. And all I'm going to say is I did have Ace in my deck. Get it?
Yeah.
And I had to sacrifice it for something else, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sorry. I knew you'd be upset about that one.
That is tough.
But it was in and out and then in different order. And I'm like, ugh. So
yeah,
I do love that album too, but
it's
not my top 10. So
cool.
It's a good one. I will say Paul's is probably number 11 for me. So it sits just that
right on the edge. Yeah,
right on the edge. I dig it. Those two are head and shoulders way better than the other two.
Oh yeah,
not even close. Not even close. All right, where are we at? Number 7. How about a little Creatures of the Night?
Mm-hmm.
Beauty.
Killer. I mean, this to me at the time was such a return to form, and I have really softened my stance on music from the Elder. Okay, over the last year or two, because I used to detest that album, but it's actually not as bad as most people say and as I thought. But when this came out, this was like, holy crap, Kiss is back, and they're back with a vengeance. I mean, the title track just kicks ass. Saint and Sinner, Killer, War Machine, Rock and Roll Hell. I love it loud as a song they still play live right to this day. So it's just a heavy album. It's melodic. And I love the sinister, cover on it. They look mean. And Gene's looking like he should be looking. It's like, you got some new blood in the band at the time. Again, Ace is either on this album or he's not on this album. He's not ready, exactly. But it doesn't matter because it's still really good. You got Bob Kulick is playing some stuff on here. You got all sorts of that. What's that?
Vinny's playing on that.
He's on here too. I've heard there's 5 or 6 guitar players.
There's a few,
whatever.
You've got the guitar player from Mr. Mister's on there too.
Yeah. Yep. And I think Lukather is on here as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. Probably Dick Wagner is on here. Dick Wagner seems to find his way into every Kiss session at some point after a certain period. So I don't know. It's just a great heavy album for its time, and I've always completely dug it. And I think the early 80s, back in the day, a lot of us thought weren't too kind to the band, but when you kind of go back and revisit some of these albums now, they're actually pretty good. It's just, the problem is a lot of us grew up on those 70s albums, and those are always going to be really special. But, around this time when all of this, myself, I can speak for myself, I was getting into other bands, much more. And it's kind of cool to go back and listen to some of these albums that maybe, back then I liked, but I liked other stuff better because I was moving on to other things. But now you go back and what? This is a damn good album. It always was a good album, but now it's like you can go back and kind of really appreciate it all.
Yeah, there's some really good. I like Danger a lot. Paul's vocal on that is insane,
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned Creatures, the Elder. Yeah, there's some highlight. Like The Oath is not a bad song.
Not at all. It's a great song.
That album.
I like Odyssey. I always liked Odyssey.
Yeah, that was a good tune.
As
well. I still remember seeing them on Solid Gold performing I. Yeah.
With those terrible outfits, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The outfits were just
the New Romantic or whatever they called it.
Yeah. I think that's the first record where I think I said this the last time on your show was that when I got the record, I opened it up and I'm like, where's the pictures? There were no pictures of the band anywhere, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah, the gatefold is just that table.
Yeah.
There's around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's my number 7. Dress to Kill.
Nice.
Yeah. This I don't know, she had some really what got me what got this what bleh, why this got into my list is it just had really, really good songs on it. I mean, Ladies in Waiting, I love Rock Bottom. And then they resurrected some older songs like Love Her All I Can, which was on Wicked Lester. And She was an older song too that they resurrected for this. But there's good songs on here. The production on this, and I know it's a big sort of deal, like, you know, that it was Neil Bogart that produced this record, and he's not a producer. For whoever was moving the dials, I just like the production on this because it sounds really clean. It's a very clean production, you know, which we'll talk about, you know, when we get to Hotter Than Hell, which is the complete opposite. But anyways, but yeah, I really dig the record. It's what the other thing that's cool about this record is, if you sort of follow the band, this is sort of when they started singing about, you know, them being rock stars, you know, and the whole, you know, rock star, you know, lifestyle, right? You know, with stuff like, well, Ladies in Waiting, as I mentioned, you know, Room Service. That's when they started to kind of bring that whole thing into their lyrics. So, you know, it's like they're living the dream, and it's just, and here's where they're just starting to kind of take off a little bit with this record. So yeah, Dress to Kill, number 7. All right, we're down to number 6.
All right,
what do you got, Mike?
This is sort of what started it all for me.
Destroyer.
So I was 4 years old when it came out, but when I was 5 years old, my dad had the single for Beth / Detroit Rock City, and I was just mesmerized by the cover. I just stared at that cover for hours, and I thought they looked so cool. I didn't know what they sounded like at the time, but I just thought they looked amazing. And then it wasn't until like a year later where like I really started listening to them, got into them in 77. That's the year I remember really getting into them. And but yeah, again, Destroyer, just so many good songs on there. A lot of good live bootlegs from that tour as well. So if you haven't seen it, then, you know, anybody, I'm sure anyone who's a Kiss fan has either watched them on YouTube or something from that tour.
Destroys Anaheim is probably the
yeah.
The first, and then there's one in was it? Oh, they're playing an old stadium in New Jersey. What's that called? It's a black and white boot.
My mind's gone blank.
I can't
remember the name. I know the one you're talking about though.
Yeah. It's not the full show either. I think it's like an hour or something. But anyway.
Yeah. So for me, that album, that started the whole thing. That's the first picture of Kiss that I remember seeing, because it was I still remember it was a picture sleeve, and there were 2 versions. There was one where Detroit Rock City was the single and Beth was the B-side, and then they reissued it with Beth as the A-side and Detroit Rock City as the B-side.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool. So that's your number 6. What do you got, Pete?
And Luca Libertaria, what's going on, man? Just pointed out that Manowar copied that album cover for their Fight in the World album. It's the exact same thing as Destroyer. But Mike, I still can't get over the fact that you got to see Kiss when you were 7 years old.
Yeah, I was.
That's like mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was awesome because 77, 78, and 79, we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it just so happened that our next door neighbor had a kid that was my age, and he's the one who really got me into Kiss. And like he had a Live 2, and he was just like showing me all these cool pictures of them and stuff in magazines. And I remember when they came to town, my friend, his name was Sean, and his dad took us, and that was the first time. And I was it was amazing. It was, I mean, to see that as your first Kiss show, it was great because I mean the production was up. You know when Gene flies, you know, during his bass solo, like. Back then, I thought he was actually flying. I guess I wasn't sitting close enough where I could see the
ropes. Yeah.
Yeah, but
what do you know, right? You're 7 years old. Like, hey,
but it was just like seeing a concert with, like, it was they were my favorite band, and just it was like seeing superheroes live on stage. That's the best way to put it. And I still have my tour book, and I still have the ticket stub.
Yeah,
I think the ticket was $6.50 or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
I still have my tour book. I don't know where the hell the ticket stub is, but I still have that tour book.
Man, at 7 years old in 1973, the closest I got to going to a concert was listening to AM radio in Dad's car. That was it. There was no going to a concert at that age. No way. All right. What are we up to? 6. How about Love Gun?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta love it, right?
Great.
Yeah.
I think, great album. I think some of the songwriting is kind of cheesy on this album, like lyric wise, a little infantile, I think, but I still love this album. I remember, seeing an ad in the newspaper, the local newspaper here, and because again, back then, no internet, right? The only way you knew that albums were coming out is if you saw a commercial or you heard it on the radio or you read in the newspaper or Hit Parade or Cream magazine or something like that. So there was an ad saying new Kiss album, Love Gun, available at James Way. It was like $7.99, and I was like, "Oh crap! I think I have $3-4 saved away in my allowance. Mom, can you drive me down to Monroe, New York, to to go get a copy of the new Kiss LP?" So, but yeah, I dig it. I mean, it's got some classics on it, right? I Stole Your Love. It's got Shock Me, obviously. The title track that's a top 10 Kiss song, in my opinion. Hooligan is a great song. Almost Human. Plaster Caster, kind of silly. Christine 16. It's like we all love the song, but man, would they get away with doing that song today? Probably not. But it's got Then She Kissed Me. What's going on with that? Yeah. I mean, there's a couple songs on here, Tomorrow and Tonight. But I mean, there's some just absolute great songs on here, and who doesn't love that album cover, right?
Yeah,
that's absolutely legendary. So I have a T-shirt of it. So
that's my wallpaper on my phone.
Gotta be, right? I mean,
it's
amazing. Yeah. It's just, and how cool do they look back? And
yeah,
what's your favorite era of their costumes? I love these costumes. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I love them.
It's a toss up between
the
Love
Destroyer
Gun
era is great.
Destroyer,
yeah. Between Destroyer and
I think for me maybe Love Gun, because that's when I really, really got into them. So
and Ace's costume was just the shit back then.
Yeah.
I mean, those boots, I mean, amazing.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, this one's already been spoken of, but Dynasty for me is my number 6. And everything that you mentioned earlier, Pete, Take I Was Made for Loving You off that record.
It's still a good song, though. Right?
Yeah, it is a good song, but I mean, it kind of that I don't know, that put people off the whole record. Whereas the rest of the record I think is great. Poppy, yes, but it's got some great Paul songs on it, like ones you mentioned, Magic Touch, Sure Know Something are fantastic. I love Hard Times. Like that's just a great song.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have a thing for the goofy Gene song. So Charisma for me is like right down my alley. I love Charisma. Yeah. You were saying about the guest guitar players on that record. As far as I know, it's Ace, and that's one of the records that, because the songs are kind of poppy, whatever. When those lead breaks come in, and he's doing some crazy, like he's got some effects and stuff going on. I love Ace's playing on that record. I think that's one of his has some of my favorite solos on there, right? Like the solo on Hard Times, for example, or the solo on X-Ray Eyes is just, it's like it just takes a song and just elevates it, which is true for pretty much most of the Kiss stuff. For me, Ace's solos take all their songs and just put them into a higher gear for me. And Paul plays a really nice solo on Sure Know Something. That's Paul Stanley playing a lead on that. And Paul's solo on that is really, really cool too. So it's I really dig the record. I love the fact that when Paul and you went to see this show, Mike, that Paul pulled out some of those songs and played them when he did the solo tour.
Oh yeah.
He played Magic Touch. Like that's because that song, that's one of those songs I just got That and Sure Know. Well, Sure Know Something was released as a single. I don't think it did much. But Magic Touch, I don't think even came out as a single. And that's a song that kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really good, man.
That was a great tour, too. That Paul Stanley solo tour.
Yeah, yeah. The Wig Tour.
The Wig Tour.
Yeah.
They don't wear wigs. Come on.
I don't know what I was thinking.
To get back to your comment about Ace's solos, I mean, I think that one of the great things about him, obviously there's better technical players out there, but all of his solos are so well constructed, and you can tell he put a lot of thought into them. They're very musical, and they're really memorable. I mean, you can hum every one of them.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about. They fit in those songs. It's not just some guy just playing a million, notes per second just to fill up some space. I mean, the majority of his solos were really well crafted and very, very memorable.
Yeah, and that's like Ace. I'm gonna go like right up. Shit, even Unmasked, the stuff he's playing on Unmasked is great. I think at Unmasked, after that, it kind of his soloing ability kind of like even when he started doing his solo stuff and whatever, it just kind of it hasn't really recovered. I mean, even his soloing on The Elder was already starting to kind of fade off a little bit. But right up until Unmasked, I'm talking like, to this day, I mean, how many years later, 40, 50 years later, no, 40, 45 years later, when I listen to a Kiss song, I'm just waiting for that solo to kick in. I mean, that's the whole song for me is as soon as he hits that lead, because he just nails it every time. It just knocks it out of the park, man. And there's not a lot of, honestly, like there's not a lot of guitar players that do that for me. I'll say Jimmy Page would probably be the other one, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, like you say, there's guys that can play circles around him. I mean, he's not made any bones about that. But as far as note choice, execution, just the little technical, little bend here, a little vibrato there, and it just brings the guitar to life and makes those songs just super memorable.
And a great vibrato, actually.
Yeah. So for me, that's Dynasty, and like we were saying earlier, that was my first tour as well. I'll never forget sitting there. I mean, I'm up in the nosebleeds, but as soon as that big sound, that tractor or whatever big rumbling sound, and them coming out of the ground with the green, the red, the purple, and the blue lights, and them up with their fists in the air. I mean, come on, and you're like 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
Like, you don't even see that happen today.
It's done. Wrap him up. He's done. It's like
I think the last band I saw come out of the stage was, it was Kiss in Detroit. I think for the the Sonic Boom tour?
Oh, they came
or the Live 35.
They came over the drums for that.
Okay, there was one of the shows that I saw. They actually came from under the stage. So one of the times I saw them, they did that, and Black Sabbath did that too on their first reunion tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right, so we're up to 5. What you got?
So for me, I've got
Asylum.
Yeah. I love all the chapters of Kiss, but I'm really, I guess my heart is really in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
And again, Paul's songwriting, I thought was fantastic. And I mean, Tears Are Falling, even today, I love that song. The tour was good too. I like Bruce's playing on this album. Eric as well. For me, it's interesting because as a drummer, Eric Carr is actually my favorite Kiss drummer. Now, Eric Singer is the better drummer, but there was just something about Eric. He just fit in. I think, I don't know, his style of playing for back then. Like, man, he was amazing, just thinking back. And I never say much about Peter because, well,
poor Peter.
Yeah, poor Peter. So, but yeah, I just thought overall it was a great album. Tour was great with King Cobra opening up Maple Leaf Gardens. That was that tour. That's the closest I came to seeing Kiss close up, because I remember it was at Maple Leaf Gardens, and we were waiting at the back where all the bands come in their limos, and I saw Gene come in his limo, and Bruce and Eric came in a limo together. Gene had his own, and I didn't see Paul, so I don't know if Paul came later, if he was already there or what. But
cool.
Just a lot of memories from that, and I still think it's a great album. So
yeah, that's when they were a winner. Like they're super glitzy
and Gene's hair.
Gene's hair was like
that wig was awesome.
What do you mean wigs? They don't wear wigs
at all.
All right, what have you got for number 5, Pete?
Rock and Roll Over. Great album, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah,
great album. Pretty cool cover art too.
Love it.
Back in the day, I wasn't so sure how much I liked the cover art, but I dig it now. It's just different. It's different. Great songs on here. I Want You, Take Me, Calling Dr. Love. I mean, massive. Even better on the live album, right? But
there's a solo again. Listen to the solo on Calling Dr. Love.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That one note he plays that starts it, I'm done.
Yep.
One note.
How about Baby Driver, man?
Like,
I love
Baby
that
Driver
song.
kills, right? I think
even Love 'Em, Leave 'Em. I love that.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Making Love. Come on.
Making Love is great.
Yeah.
I always thought that Peter was like their secret weapon when it came to vocals. I don't know. Every time Peter sang on these older albums, I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
he had that rough and gravelly voice. It's like in almost every song, with the exception of Beth, right? Almost every song that he sang, with most of them anywhere, were pretty heavy songs.
Yeah,
I mean, that just kind of like that tone from the streets, and I love it. And this is a really well produced album too. I think it's just sparkling with energy.
Eddie Kramer. That's Eddie Kramer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
if I was to get a Kiss tattoo, that would be the one that I would get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that album cover.
I can see that.
Yeah. Well, Peter's got himself.
Yeah.
His face from that cover, he's got it on his arm.
Yeah.
Pretty
just
cool.
in case he forgot who he is.
Yeah, I'm this guy. Okay, so for my number 5, speaking of the man, Ace Frehley. What can I say about that record? Songs are amazing. Great riffs, great songs. I think that is probably his best playing, like altogether from any record, because he's doing all of it pretty much. But the secret weapon in that record, and what makes the songs really, really kick, is Anton Fig on the drums.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that marriage of him and Anton on the drums, like Speeding Back to My Baby, and he's trading solos with him and the guitar and Anton on the drums, man. And those fills and those, oh my God, like Anton makes, for me, a lot of the songs on that record are great.
Rip it out.
Ugh. I saw him in Bonamassa's band a couple years ago. Whew.
Yeah.
Guys,
I saw him. Yeah, last year I saw him playing with Bonamassa. And some of the lead work on that, the solo on "I'm in Need of Love." I mean, that song is great, but the solo is fantastic. That "Speeding Back to My Baby," and then that instrumental. And he's done like multiple Fractured 1, Fractured 2, Fractured, Spinning Acorn, whatever. That is the first one, I think, is still the best one that he's done as far as those guitar instrumentals. Just a fantastic record. Eddie Kramer, again, like I was saying earlier, Eddie Kramer, I don't know what kind of voodoo magic he performed on him, but his vocals were not bad on that record. They were okay. They did not take the songs down. So between his playing and Anton on the drums, that is killer. And again, you can hear, I can listen to that record like now and love it as much as I did when I first bought it at 12 years old or 13 or whatever the hell I was. So yeah, killer record, man.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay, we're at to number 4. What do you got, Mike?
Okay.
Alive. Oh, and you've got the
Kiss Alive too.
German version.
This is the German version. So yes, Alive 2 is a live album, but I'm talking about side 4, which was all the studio tracks that they did, and I love every song on there. This was also the record that really got me into Kiss after we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and Next Door Neighbor had Alive 2, and I was just amazed by that amazing gatefold with with the bombs going off, and they're on the and I mean, you got so much with that record. You got that book, The Evolution of Kiss, that came in there, which was amazing. And then you got Tattoos as well.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, I'd never seen so much stuff come in one record. So it's like, it was a double album, and then it had live songs, it had studio songs, you had like practically a tour book in there, and then just it was just I love that record still today. I mean, even I know we're not talking about live albums, but it is a great sounding album, even though a lot of it's been overdubbed and stuff. But just a lot of great memories of that. So,
well, those songs on side 4 are some of the best songs they've ever done, and they're almost lost on because they're on side 4 of Alive 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if those songs had appeared on Dynasty, you know, like the next record, right? You know,
I saw,
or the record previous, you know, like.
Yeah. I saw a video of Kiss doing, it was a couple of tours ago, for Soundcheck. They did All American Man, and it sounded fantastic. It sounded really good.
That's such a great riff.
Yeah.
I mean, Larger Than Life. I mean,
oh yeah,
Rocket Ride, one of Face's best songs, and it's lost.
My favorite song right there, Rocket Ride rules. Shock Me got all the attention, but Rocket Ride is the best tune, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's lost on side 4. It's, you know, kind of.
It almost makes you wonder what kind of album there would have been if there would have been one there in between.
Yes,
like from those sessions.
Yeah,
I think that would have been a great record.
You know, and you know, there's one thing about Rocket Ride that drum, and Mike, maybe you can answer this because you're a drummer. That crazy ass drum thing at the end.
Oh yeah,
that beat Peter.
No, that's Anton.
Okay, because I'm like, there's no way in hell Peter could play.
Yeah,
that.
No. And the funny thing is, when I was a kid, it may have not been in 1977, but I know it was in the late 70s, early 80s, and I still remember hearing that song, and I'm like, I can't see Peter playing that. Like, it just, you know, and I wasn't even a drummer back then. I was interested in drums, and for me, I mean, when I first heard Alive 2, I thought Peter's drum solo was like incredible. Like, it just blew me away. I mean, you know, when I listen to it now, it's kind of like, you know, it's okay, but you know, it's amazing how things change, right? So,
yeah, well, once you start to play an instrument and you kind of know what's what, then you can see.
You know, right? I mean, he was definitely a better drummer back then than when they did the reunion tour. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, so
he played harder. He was just better. But
it's like Ace, right? Look at Ace and like Destroyer, and look at Ace on the reunion tour. I mean, But anyways, yeah. Oh, good pick, man. I love side 4. It's amazing.
Yeah,
and it's all Bob Kulick except for Rocket Ride.
That's correct.
All right, what do we got for your number 4?
All right, before I divulge my number 4, I want to give a shout out to all these Sea of Tranquility fanatics I see in the chat. Holy moly, they're out in force. Grant and Dawn and Gary and Luca and Captain Beyond. Man, every time I look over there, I see more of them. What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming in here. Appreciate it.
I usually look a little more at the chat, but I don't know what the hell's going on because my chat's been frozen for the last little while. So
it's like it's going on. AZDH, what's going on? There's another one.
Oh, cool.
Oh, holy cow! Every time I look over now and then while we're chit chatting, and I'm like just keep seeing all these familiar names and things. So anyway, thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you so much, everybody. And if you like what you see, please, think about
subscribe.
and subscribe. And Pete, I think you broke my record the last time. I think you broke that record. We're at 126 viewers right now.
There we go.
We got a real dedicated following. And thanks.
It's all them. It's all them.
Thanks everybody for popping in. And you mentioning that you were going to be on the show. I think I gained like 20 subs. Seriously, it's like my numbers went up again. Wow, man, that's just amazing.
Gary just said Pete tells us the cult responds.
Cult, there's a good band. We should do the Cult one time.
There you go. All right, my number 4. So remember I talked way at the beginning of the hour about how if we were doing this show 30, 40 years ago, my list would have been a little bit different. Well, this would have been my number 1 back then. But over time, I realized I don't love this album quite as much as I used to, although I still like it a lot. This is the first album I ever actually bought. It's not the first one I heard. The first album I ever heard was Kiss Alive, and then I went out and bought this, and then I saved that little bit extra money and bought Kiss Alive because this one had just come out at the time. So, of course, talking about Destroyer, I mean, looking back, I think that the Bob Ezrin production maybe wasn't the right pick for this band, I guess. Well, part of it's got that kind of lush and atmospheric, sound to it, which, it kind of works, but weird enough, they didn't go back to this kind of sound until The Elder, right? And there's probably a reason for that. But some classic songs on here. Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World. I absolutely love God of Thunder, although I like it much better on a Live 2. I think the Live 2 version is like the definitive God of Thunder. For me, Flamin' Youth is cool. Sweet Pain's all right. Shout It Out Loud is a classic, Beth, whatever. Do You Love Me is a good tune. I don't know. I just think that back in the late 70s, this was it for me. But now I'm like, half of it I love. The other half of it I'm like, it's okay. But the stuff that I love is really, really good. And I think that over time, this might even creep down lower on my list because of that. I think that just as time is going on, I'm digging this album less, but I still dig it a lot. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But that album cover is fantastic.
Well, the album cover is
legendary.
That's the first album I ever bought. Was that record?
Okay, of any album, yeah.
No, because of that, you see that record, you're a little kid, you're like, holy shit. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's what started it for me.
Yeah.
That album cover.
Yeah.
Even before I knew what they sounded like, I knew I loved them.
Yep.
Easy sell. All right, so my number 4. This one's already been talked about. Of course, I'm talking about Love Gun. And this is an autographed copy. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons signed this. I mean, what can you say? Just let's see what I wrote down here. There's a couple of records that I consider in my top 10 that are band albums. Okay, because we talk about other folks coming in and this and that. This was a band album, and what I mean by that is the only people playing on this are the 4 guys in Kiss. Everybody's got a lead vocal on here. Everybody participated in one way, shape, or form. Again, I Ace's solos on this record. Holy shit. I mean, Shock Me aside, like Shock Me, of course, has got a great lead, but I mean, just all his solos on this record, just unbelievable. There's so many deep cuts on this record that never get played that for whatever reason, just, like there's a song on here that I love called Almost Human.
Oh yeah.
I love that song. I mean, why he did not do that, put God of Thunder, give it a rest for a while. And, if you want a demon song to do the blood and all that, Almost Human, man. It fits the profile, There's another great song on here that never got played, Got Love for Sale, which Gene did when we saw Mike solo show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I lost my shit when he played that song. I'm like, oh my, finally he's playing Got Love for Sale.
Yeah.
Plaster Caster, cheesy lyrics, but I still dig the song. I think it's great. Great energy on this. Eddie Kramer, produced it, and I just really, really dig this record, man. The songs that I like the least are Love Gun is okay, but the songs that get overplayed. Actually, on this one, no, there's nothing here really gets super overplayed. And that's like what you mentioned, this Destroyer. Like the thing is with Destroyer, like I've heard those songs too many times. They've been played too many times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's cool about this one is, I mean, they started some tours with I Stole Your Love. They started some tours with Love Gun. But really, apart from those two songs, they really haven't played a lot of this stuff live. So for me, it's always like fresh when you hear it, you know?
Yeah.
So absolutely great record, man.
I actually had to sacrifice that one from my list, even though Love Gun's probably one of my favorite Kiss songs. So it was in and out of my picks. Like, I can't tell you how many times.
Oh yeah. Well, once you get like, we're now into like the top 3, right? So once you get to this point now, anything could be, like, for me anyway, any one of these could be my number 1.
Yeah.
It's just roll the dice. I mean, they're all equally phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
All right. So we're down to 3. What do you got, Mike?
All right. So for me,
Revenge.
I've got Revenge, and mine, I don't know if you can see. I can't even see, but it's autographed by all 4 of them.
Oh, cool.
Which is really cool. And this is one of those records that I love from start to finish. Everything from the production of the record to the songwriting. I mean, Vinny had a lot to do with this album too, because he co-wrote a couple of songs on there. And
yeah. What 2 did he did Unholy? And what was the other one he did?
I can't.
I think it was just Unholy, wasn't it?
No, there were like 3 tunes on here that he co-wrote.
Oh, okay.
So, because then I remember they got into the whole legal thing afterwards, and Vinny said he had changed, and they started working together. I mean, it sucks with that guy, man. Like, he really is a talented guy, and it's just a shame that he's just so strange or flaky, I guess I should say the word is. But I actually and for this tour as well, I thought they looked the best. I thought Gene looked amazing.
Yes.
I still remember seeing a magazine in a variety store, and I'm like, oh my God, Gene has a goatee and his hair straight. He looks awesome, right? And it was so good. I actually saw them on the club tour for that in Toronto at the Phoenix.
Yeah.
So, that was sort of like their little warm-up thing that they did I think they only did it in a couple of cities. And it was I say it about every album, but it was awesome. I mean,
yeah, they were on fire. They were like renewed at that
point. Yeah. I mean, Paul's voice was just killer.
Yes.
Like, oh man, I love every song on here. All the Gene songs, like Spit, Unholy, Thou Shalt Not. I mean, I love that song. I wish that would have been a single. That would have been a great single. Great, and Domino, obviously. I mean,
well, yeah, it was Unholy was the lead off, and then 3 singles off of that. It was Unholy, Domino, and I Just Wanna.
Take It Off as well.
Take It Off was a single also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a video for I Just Wanna, but then they released it from the Alive 3 tour.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But, yeah, for me, this album's great. What album isn't great by them?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Pete, what do we got for number 3?
Ayo, I see you. What's going on? How are you? My number 3 is Dress to Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody pretty much knows what my top 3 is going to be. But, I mean, this is another classic. This is the band just before they're, about to get really, really big. Do we ever need to hear Rock and Roll All Night again? I probably don't need to.
Wait, how does that song go?
Oh. Yeah, I kind of remember, right? Room Service is great. Rock Bottom is great. Yeah. She is legendary. She's one of my all-time favorite songs by the band. Two-timer, Ladies in Waiting is great. Getaway, Anything for My Baby. I mean, the whole album is just a fun party, heavy rock album. It's barely, a half hour long. Doesn't need to be any longer than that. And I'm not a big fan of the album cover.
Oh, no?
Nah, I don't know. I think it's kind of silly, actually, but I don't know. I just, I mean, I get it. It's all kind of tongue in cheek, but at this point, the band are trying to be mysterious and menacing, and here they are hanging out, looking goofy in suits on the street corner. I don't know. It's just not really what I wanted to see from Kiss at that point in time. But the album kicks ass. So
yeah.
So here's a bit of info that they didn't own suits. All those suits belong to Bill Coin. So some of them,
that's right. It doesn't fit them, right? Yeah,
don't fit them.
I mean, Gene looks especially ridiculous. I mean, he's the collar doesn't match everybody else's. The pants are like up to his knees practically.
Yeah, ridiculous. They are dressed to kill.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so for my number 3, and this could have been my number 1. I mean, any one of these could have been my number 1. Paul Stanley solo record.
Wow.
My God, do I love this album. This is just, I'm speechless. When I listen to this record, it's like, holy shit. Every song is fantastic. The musicianship, the players on it. For me, this is his best vocal performance of any record, because this was before he tried to shatter glass. This was when he still had his regular singing voice, and I was good with that, and I mean, he's really pushing his songwriting abilities on us. He's really stretching out, so to speak. What I read here: incredible songwriting, best vocals of any album. And that whole record really, I mean, he's got all that whole sort of, and I mentioned this a little bit with Dressed to Kill, where he started, the rock star lifestyle. He's got that in there as well, right? Songs like, Tonight You Belong to Me, or It's All Right, or Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? That's another. And just like those songs are just so catchy, and those riffs, they're like power pop riffs, you know what I mean? And the guitars sound great. The production, I mean, I could go on and on about that record. I just absolutely love that record. Everyone goes on, when they're talking about the solo album, oh, Ace has got the best one. Ace has got the best one. Ace's record is good, but this record has got depth to it. It just has more,
all the way through.
It's all the way through. It has, and the lead playing on this record, which is a lot of the lead playing, is actually done by Paul. And I mean, shit, he's really a really great melodic guitar. You can tell right away it's not his style different from Ace, right? Ace has always got that little more of that bluesy thing to it, but he's got a really, really nice melodic style of soloing. And there's a few different musicians in there. They recorded that record in 2 parts, right? They did the New York, and then they did the LA, and then Bob Kulick on this record again is fantastic. Like, holy, that guy's such a great guy. God rest his soul, rest in peace, Bob Kulick. But holy shit, man, he does an amazing job on that record. It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 3.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it. Love that record. All right. What's your number 2?
Okay, Kiss fans. This album had 2 different covers. Can you guess what it is?
Oh, yeah. It starts with a C and rhymes with features.
That's right. So we got the non-makeup.
Yeah.
And then the makeup.
Now, what do those 2 covers have in common?
What do they have in common? They both say Kiss and Creatures of the Night on them.
They both have one guy that didn't play on the record.
Yeah. True. But you know what? I love this album cover. I've always loved, this is one of my favorite album covers.
Yeah, for sure.
The makeup one. And I remember that tour, again, pre-internet. And I'm looking and I'm like, who the hell is that on the guitar? And I'm like, did Ace change his outfit or something? Like I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I remember somebody behind us told us that it was replaced with somebody else. It was just so, we didn't know.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Sorry? No, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So Mike and I both went to the same concert, and there was a guy selling shirts outside. You know, you get want to buy a tour shirt, right? I'm looking at the picture, and there's a guy there, and I go, "Well, did Ace change his makeup? Who's this guy?" Because there's no internet, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So we both had the same experience. We went in to see this guy that was not Ace, with no previous knowledge.
And funny enough, that tour, like I remember, I didn't go to the merch booth in the beginning, so because I probably would have seen the shirts, I would have been, who's that guy on the shirt? Because it was the anniversary tour, right? So
anniversary, yeah.
But yeah, again, I love this record. I love Eric's playing. I love the drum sound. I love that big kind of fat bottom, drum sound. It's a heavy record. Just, I don't know, everything about it. Again, it's one of those albums that I could listen to all the way through. My least favorite song is probably "I Still Love You" off that record. And we talked about that last time. I don't know why Paul keeps bringing that up. Well, not so much now, but there were a whole bunch of tours that they brought that song back in, and I don't know why, but for the most part, like I love everything about it. I love the way they looked. And once, like looking back now, I did like Vinny's character. I thought his makeup was cool. I think I liked him better with the makeup on. but yeah, I mean, I liked Vinny during Creatures, like the Creatures tour, the way he looked. The tour book, I remember that's the only tour book that I never got, they were all sold out. And I know I can buy it off of eBay, but I think I mentioned this last time too. If I buy it, I'll probably have to find a new place to live. So yeah,
that Vinny was playing that on that tour. That's when he had that V with the big fin on it, right? That Randy Rhoads guitar thing. He had a really weird looking guitar. The first time I'd seen it, it's like a V, but it was like was it pink?
Yeah, I don't know. I know he had the pink one, the pink Jackson.
Yeah,
that was for Look It Up.
Yeah,
Look It Up. He had that.
I don't know. Yeah, the thing was with that record. There's two songs on that record that I've heard way too much.
I know one of them. Two of them.
You know both of them because
I love it. Loud and War Machine.
Every tour for the last 15 years. Oh, it's War Machine again. Oh, it's I Love It Loud again. Oh, shoot me.
I know.
I'd almost rather listen to Rock and Roll All Night again.
And you get that anyway, whether you like it or not. You get Rock and Roll All Night.
Yep, always gonna get Rock and Roll All Night. Yeah, no, it's a great record. It is.
Yeah, and their last record on Casablanca.
That's right. Yeah, and they got that Neil Bogart thing at the back, right?
At the back, yeah. He passed away.
In memory of Neil. Yeah, that's right. It's true. All right, Pete, what do we got for number 2?
Well, number 2 is number 1. First album. It probably has the best track list of any Kiss record, right? I still like all of these songs better on the Alive album, but they are great songs.
Yes.
Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin. I mean, Deuce, for crying out loud, is a top 3 song for me.
Yeah, me too.
100,000 Years, Black Diamond, right there. You just stop right there. It's still a legendary album. A couple of, Let Me Know, decent. Kissin' Time, kind of silly. Love Theme from Kiss is pretty cool, right? But the rest of it is just drop dead legendary stuff. I will say, horrible makeup on Peter here.
Yeah.
Ace not too far behind with kind of like he's got like the silver hair thing going on.
Yeah, he sprayed his head with silver paint.
Yeah. Gene looks kind of cool, although he looks like a Japanese kabuki warrior, male or female, we don't know. And Paul's not quite looking great yet. So I don't really dig the makeup at this point yet or the cover, but great album. Yeah, really clean production too.
You like the production? I was going to ask you about the production.
It's okay, but like I said, I think these songs have more meat and more fire and energy on the live album, and I think this production. I mean, it's clear, it's pristine, maybe a little bit too much so for these songs, I think. But I mean, it still sounds great. The songs are great, and not much separates my number one and number two. And I've debated for a long time about which, I think for the last couple of years I've been going with my number one, but there was a long period of time where I could easily say this is my favorite, but I'm not going to say it today.
Okay. All right. Well, here's my number two. Hotter Than Hell. This record, even with the muddy, shitty production, is still, even that can't keep this record down. I mean, it is so good. The songs on this, you're saying that the first record is top to bottom. For me, this one is top to bottom. I mean, right off the bat, got to choose Parasite and Going Blind. That's it. I'm done right there. I mean, not to mention what else is great on this. Watching You is on this. Coming Home, and another deep cut that does not get enough attention is Strange Ways, which is probably, if not my favorite Ace guitar solo. It's got to be in the top three. It is insanely good.
I agree with you on that. That's coming from a drummer.
Yeah. I would put this up again, like Strange Ways. I'd put that up against a Sabbath tune. I mean, it's dirgy, it's heavy, it's just a great song. It's unfortunate that this was recorded the way it was, and it's funny because I just listened to an interview with both Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise just this past week. Old interviews that Mitch LaFon did with the two guys, and they were talking about the record, and Richie was saying how he actually regrets the way this is sort of a blemish on his, because he's recorded I don't know, 60 or 70 albums he's produced, and he was saying this is like a blemish on his career. But he did this when he was in his 20s, just starting out. But you know what? I mean, that's how good. I mean, All the Way. There's another one. Mm-hmm. That's how good the songs on this are. That even with that, they still, it's still a record that I can put on and I can listen front to back and just be blown away. And the other thing, the one thing that even with the production that comes out is it's so raw. I mean, it's really raw. It's almost like Garage Band Kiss. You know what I mean? It's got that kind of vibe, which I dig. So
I love the cover too.
Yeah, the cover is really cool too. Yeah, what I read here: Parasite, Strange Ways, Watching You, Got to Choose. Just and just great. Some of the best Kiss songs ever are on that record, man. And again, it's a band record. Everybody gets involved, right? Peter's singing main line on that. I don't know if the story is true, but he quit the band. He said, "I'm going to quit the band if you don't give me a lead vocal." So Paul's like, "Here, sing this one." So I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So there you go. That's my number two.
I kind of regret, because that was one of the ones that I had in and out of my top 10 pick, and I was like, it was in, it was out, it was in, it was out. Yeah. So yeah, and then the more you talk about it, I'm like, maybe I should have, but then what would I get rid of? But,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I believe we're up to number one now. Am I correct?
Yes. Yep. This is it.
So my number one.
Drum roll.
Wait a minute. What's a Dolly Parton CD doing in here? Oh no, sorry, wrong. No. So I've got Rock and Roll Over.
Rock and Roll Over.
So again, for me, it kind of ties in with when I kind of first discovered them around the Destroyer era, and again, I mean, we've talked about this album a few times on this show, so there's not much more that I could say that hasn't been said already, but it's just great throughout. I actually remember seeing them on was it the Paul Lynde Halloween special?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was the first time I actually saw them perform. And man, it was amazing. I can't even put into words, you know. It was like superheroes on steroids on like it was awesome. Like I wish I had a time machine where I could go back at the age I am now and see them on that tour, you know. They had so much energy. Well, obviously they were younger, they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
But it just would have been so cool. Like, I mean, it's pretty awesome that we have all these videos and DVDs that are either floating around or have been released by the band, like on the Kissologies, where you can actually go back and see some of that footage. And you know, it's just, they were so hungry. They were like they were out to kill. You know, they were just fantastic. So, and again, this is one of my favorite album covers as well. Creatures being my first, but yeah, I always thought if I was to ever get a tattoo, that's what I would get on my shoulder. But I'm about 100 years old now, so I think it's too late for me to get one. But yeah, I guess it's never too late, right? Midlife crisis type thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right. It's number one time, Pete. What do you got?
No surprise, I think, to followers of my channel, but I love this album. This is dark and heavy. It's muddy and murky, and who cares? It's just, I love the kind of, I mean, this is like Kiss being the creatures of the night and the, you know, dark superhero characters and the horror movie stars that they really want it to be. And I just love the songs on this album. I mean, for me, there's just some drop dead classics. I mean, Got to Choose, Parasite, Watching You is my favorite Kiss song of all time. You know, you got the title track. How about Going Blind, for crying out loud?
Yeah.
Love Gene's vocal on that. And then, you know, Strange Ways is probably the underrated gem on this album, the underrated gem in the entire early part of the Kiss catalog.
Agreed.
And, you know, there's a lot of great songs on here, obviously, but All the Way, another really great song. I just love it. Love the cover. I love hearing the stories from the band about what went on behind the scenes while they were filming or, you know, taking the photographs of this cover. I mean, this is just, you know, it's like what the one time in his life that Paul was drunk during this, basically like passed out here, right? Or
lost him in a car and he couldn't figure out how to get out of it.
Exactly. Right? All the stories about all the debauchery going on during this photo shoot. It's just classic. And it's like, and again, the band was like, there were nobodies at this time, right?
No.
But you look at the album and you think, you know, these guys are rock stars. I mean, look at this. This is rock and roll right here.
Right.
See, I regret pulling that now out of my top 10, but you know, maybe let me see. I'm gonna go backwards. And, no, it's hard, but you know what? It's interesting because you know some of the albums we had were all the same, but in different order, and you know, it was just cool. Like, I find it so interesting hearing your guys' perspective on the album and like, you know, what it meant to you at the time and everything. And like, I just think it's so cool. Like, I'm really glad we got to do this.
I'm almost amazed, Mike, that you didn't have any of the first 3 albums in your top 10 list. I mean, that to me is like amazing.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was very hard. I mean, I was trying to put 70s, 80s and 90s in there, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually, I was going to cheat, to be honest with you. I was going to put the originals in because that's one record, but it has the first
that's
Kiss
right.
records.
There you
go. So you know, going back, maybe I should have done that. I do have that as well. So
there you go. To answer Chris's question in the comments, Gene and Paul don't drink, but for whatever reason, this photo shoot took forever, and one of the ladies convinced, if you guys remember the story, one of the ladies convinced Paul to, I don't even, was it champagne? I don't even remember what it was. He was drinking silly light, really kind of, you know, nothing strong. And because he doesn't drink, he got really, really drunk really quickly. And he just like completely like passed out. And I guess he was like, he had a hangover for like 2 days or something like that. But yeah, and he probably never touched it again after that. But yeah, those guys were as straight laced as anything. But yeah, this is my number one. Love this album. Legendary album for me.
Good choice.
Great record, man. All right. So My last one, my number one. Mike already stole my thunder. Rock and Roll Over. This is quintessential Kiss. This for me encapsulates. This is Kiss for me in their heyday. The band record. It's only them playing on it. This one is signed by Paul and Gene again. It's just it's everything that the songs. I'm just reading my notes here. This is at their stride. They've hit their stride. This was the reaction to Destroyer. You notice Destroyer wasn't in my top 10 because that record for me, it's overproduced. This was a reaction to Destroyer. It's like, we're gonna get Eddie Kramer. They basically recorded this in an empty theater in Nanuet, New York, the Star Theater. And it was a theater in the round, and they just wanted to kind of have that big, almost like a live sound in the studio when they did this record. And it's great. Standouts on this. Speaking of songs that get no attention, Mr. Speed is probably my favorite Kiss song of all. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's that whole Paul Stanley, I'm a Rock Star thing. It's a great song. They've never done it live.
That would have been killer to hear on Paul's solo tour, for the Live to Win tour. I mean,
you imagine play Mr. Speed.
I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. Making Love is great on this. Baby Driver, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em. And this is another record where, like, you listen to the song and then here comes Ace's solo and holy shit, there it is. I mean, imagine Baby Driver without Ace's fills. That just sounds like a grunt from beginning to end. Yeah. But you got all those little fills after, and that song, all of a sudden, that song is great now. It's just Ace is playing amazing on this. Whenever he's working with Eddie Kramer, it seems that he pulls out the best, pulls the best out of Ace. And man, they're just like it. This is it. This is like this is Kiss in one CD for me. Yeah. I just love it. Absolutely love it. My favorite record of all.
I think. And you got a sticker with it when you bought it back then.
That in the album. I have the vinyl versions of all of these. It's just it's I grabbed the CDs because it was easier. But they had the sticker. I still have the sticker in there with the record. Mm-hmm. I even have the in Love Gun they had a little catalog where you can order just jewelry and stuff. I have that.
Yeah, I've got all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's about it. This
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go around. Any last comments about some of your picks or some of our picks or?
Well, I feel kind of bad that I sacrificed Ace Frehley and I sacrificed Hotter Than Hell.
Yeah.
I really should have seen. I
should have gone back and Crazy Nights. I was about to pass out over here.
Yeah. That's I don't know.
Really? Crazy Nights?
Oh, come on. I'd fight hell to hold you, Reason to Live,
okay,
My Way, Turn on the Night.
Got to choose.
Come on. Okay, you can't even compare the two, right? They're two completely different chapters, but Paul's songs are awesome, except for Crazy Crazy Nights.
That one threw me for a loop, buddy. I got to be honest with you.
Hey, I actually had Unmasked in my top 10 at one point too.
You know what?
I love that record.
I love that record. I mean, it didn't make my cut, but that's a really good album too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been worse. I could have had Peter Criss in my top 10.
Oh no, yeah, we don't want to see that.
Peter Criss, yeah.
And it's funny. I recently went back and listened to that after I hadn't heard it in many, many years. I'm like, it can't be as bad as I remember it. And I'm like, yeah, it's as bad as I remember it. It might actually be worse. Actually, it's just not good.
I got a little story about that. That was the first solo album that I bought.
Oh, really?
I bought it when the solo albums came out. I remember I got the Peter Criss one first, and I remember going home playing it on my little record player, and my dad saying, "Oh, so how's the record?" And I remember I think I said, "Dad, it's shit." I think that was the first time he heard me swear. But I was. I think that's what came out of my mouth when I heard it. I'm like, this is shit. So, sorry, Peter.
I'm trying to remember the order that I bought them in. I think I know I got Aces first. I think I got Peter's second.
I got Ace second.
And then I got Gene's. Then I got Paul's last.
Yeah, I got.
And Paul. I remember like thinking like, so Peter's was like not good. Gene's was kind of like iffy, and I'm like, oh god, I hope Paul's is pretty decent. And Paul's was good. So I was like, for me, it was kind of like bookended by the two really best ones, and the two in the middle were like. And I really wanted to like Gene's because Gene's should have been that big, heavy, dark, balls to the wall, and it wasn't.
No,
it was just like he wanted this like theatrical like thing. It was just like, oh,
but his Beatles stuff I kind of like Mr.
It's not bad, but is that what you wanted to hear from Gene though on his solo album? I was like, I don't know.
But going back listening to it now, I actually like it better now than I did back then. Too. But you know what? I remember the beginning of Radioactive as a kid scared the crap out of me. That laugh that you hear, it scared the crap out of me.
And you thought this is a great intro to a heavy song, and then it's chugga 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 chugga. You're my food. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Where's the demonic? Anyways.
It sounded great at the Gene concert though, because that was his intro. Was just the beginning of that song. He didn't play Radioactive at the beginning, but he had the intro, and it sounded so cool coming out. Blasting with the, I thought it sounded cool, but yeah.
I'm looking at my list here. The ones that were just barely didn't make it for me, like Asylum. That was really close. It was Asylum.
Was good.
I love Asylum.
They were a tight 1-2. The first Kiss album didn't make it for me. And based on the production, it just sounds too thin. It's got the songs, but I can't get past that. But that's notable mentions. The other thing I wanted to mention, I think I already talked about Kiss Killers and the 4 songs that are new on this. This is an import. But they did 4 songs on this that are really good, and they're all Bob Kulick. I'll say that. But there's a song on here. I mean, Kiss has got these songs that just like disappeared in the cracks. There's a song on here called "Nowhere to Run," which is unbelievably good, and I don't know why they didn't release it on say Creatures, because this was the in between record.
Yeah,
because that's such a good song. There's another really good tune here called "Down on Your Knees," which is great. And the new records with the new lineup, this one ain't too bad. Monster, that's not too bad. I mean,
preferred Sonic Boom.
Oh yeah, see, I prefer this one. I mean, I like Wall of Sound. Hell or Hallelujah is great.
Yeah.
I think they're both solid records. I think
Devil Is Me is a great Gene
Wall
song.
of Sound is great.
Long Way Down is a great tune. And I think it's, I don't know. I'm in one Kiss video. I don't know if I think it's this one, or no. What
Modern Day Delilah.
I'm in Modern Day. I'm actually in a Kiss video.
You're wearing Paul Stanley makeup and you're up on stage. No, sorry, that's not true. I remember seeing that. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah,
I saw you there in the crowd.
Yeah, the only reason I made it onto the video is because I was standing beside a very attractive blonde woman. She was in the video, and I happened to be standing next to her. That's my Kiss story. Yeah. So, so I want to thank you guys for doing this. This was a lot of fun. I want to thank all the folks for watching the show. Very, very cool. We were times we were over 150, so that's another record for the Hack channel. Much appreciated, folks. If you like what you see, please hit the like and hit the subscribe. And if you want to help out the channel, below I've got I've got Guitar Hack merch, I've got t-shirts, I've got mugs, I've got hoodies, all that good stuff. Also there's a PayPal if you want to help in that way. There's an Instagram, there is a Facebook page, Guitar Hack Facebook group, all that good stuff.
Wait, is your last name Simmons?
I know, really. Yeah, and buy the new Paul Stanley. Anyway, so all that's down there, and also there's most of you are from Pete's channel, but for those that are not aware of Pete's channel and Sea of Tranquility, I have his link below as well. So guys, hang out for anyways. Any last words before we shut this down, Mike?
I had a blast doing this, and again, like when it comes to music in general, especially Kiss, I could go on for hours.
Yeah,
there's always a story, or I'm always interested in hearing other people's stories, and I mean, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Pete?
I had a good time. It's always great talking about bands you love. If you ever have an interest in doing the same thing for a Black Sabbath show, let me know.
Oh, definitely. Oh. Definitely.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, definitely do some Sabbath. All right, folks. So hang on for a minute, guys. So, folks, thanks so much for watching. Much appreciated. I should let everybody know this is my last show on Thursday night. As of next week, I'm going to be switching nights. It's probably looking like it's going to be Wednesday. So, but stay tuned. You'll see the notifications and all that stuff. But yeah, this will be the last Thursday night show. All right, folks. Take care. Have a great evening. Cheers.
Bye, everybody. Take care.